What's going on, man?
Hey, how are you today, Chad?
I'm doing good, man. We're sitting here on, it's August 19th, believe it or not. The month's flying by. It's going to be Labor Day before you know it. My wife has a Labor Day birthday, so I don't think she listens, but early happy birthday to her.
Well, happy birthday to her.
And anyway, we're going to talk about our meeting from the August 18th Board of Alderman meeting.
The meeting I like to term weed, witches, and arithmetic.
I think we got a title. So, how you doing though?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Didn't get much sleep last night. You know, a 3-hour board meeting I had to watch. I mean,
You didn't watch the whole thing.
man, I had the whole thing on.
Well, if you watched that whole 3-hour board meeting, God bless you, man.
And so, but hopefully we're going to sum it up here in about 30 minutes today.
And I'm just letting the viewers know he's wearing a witch hat here, and he's got a broom over in the corner there.
Yeah, and I've nicknamed you Chad Wickens instead of Wicker. And
That's
then,
right.
And we have Kit Witchens
Kit
instead
Witchens,
of Kit
yeah.
Kitchens, Kit Witchens. So we'll get to that part of the meeting here in a little bit. But had a lot on the agenda, man.
Yeah, so just kind of set the sights. We're going into budget season. We have to have the city of Hernando has to have a budget approved by September 15th. So that was the last item on the agenda.
Got a little bit less than a month.
Yeah, so we got to get that done. But yeah, we had a full slate. We had a lot of planning items that we talk about. Or I guess you're going to talk about, and some change orders. I know you like to talk about those. We had a Piper surprise also.
Oh yeah, Alderman Piper added a. No, he didn't add anything. He
removed something.
He removed something from the consent agenda and wanted to discuss it, and that was about the NLC summit in Nashville for the board and the mayor to go to. He basically had that removed from the consent agenda, and it was discussed. It was one of the first things y'all discussed, and he basically said he thinks it's a waste of money to do that along with the MML conference that y'all go to. And
well, I think I don't want to speak for Ben. I mean, he certainly can speak for himself. But the NLC is a National League of Cities. It's the kind of parent organization of MML, which is the Mississippi Municipal League.
Right.
Every state has their little group of that. And NLC is like the parent group, and so I think he feels like maybe some of their that group's obviously ran by a lot of big urban cities, right? So we know those are usually Democratic-run cities. And so I think he was making the argument that we don't get a lot of bang for our buck there.
Well, Andrew, chimed in that part of the discussion and said, it gives you more of a national perspective than a local perspective by going to that. And he said, I am not going. Alderman Miller said, I'm not attending, but I do feel like it's a good thing for us to have people go to. And y'all voted on that instead of it being on the consent agenda. And it was a 4-3 vote in favor of approving it, and it was
when you're the fourth vote, Brian, you're the most powerful vote in the room.
Yeah, well, McClendon, Piper, and Kitchens voted no, and the rest of y'all voted yes. So it was a 4-3 vote to approve that.
And let me state this: I don't know if anybody's actually going or not. Again, this is something that was presented to us at the we got this packet on Friday evening, and so I don't know if anybody's planning on going or not. I do think there's some benefit in networking with other people. I think the mayor and Alderman Miller mentioned something about various members of the Mississippi MML League being former board members and things like that. So I just so people understand, I don't know if anybody's actually going to this. This just authorizes us, if we would like to go, we are able to go.
Gotcha. Well, and then
it's like the week before Thanksgiving, so I don't know if anybody's going to be able to go.
Well, and the reason I think Alderman Piper, again, I won't speak for him either, but consistently through this meeting, you kind of got the idea that he's trying to crunch numbers a little bit better. That was one of his things, and because the next thing on the agenda was the BDO company went through the audit. So without boring our audience and having them cut it off, give us a brief synopsis.
I'll give you the elevator pitch on this thing.
So. I'll give you what I took out of listening to that whole thing, and then I'll let you explain your part. Basically, they just said our expenses went up faster than our revenue. And I was like, man, y'all could have paid me a couple $1,000 and I could have told you that. I mean, by looking at me, basically to me, it's like we're not doing basic accounting skills that you learn in 8th and 9th grade of debits and credits. And they said that's been going on. I think their scope of their audit went back to 2021 or 2022. But they said this has been an ongoing problem that has caught up to us.
That's all you got from it?
That's what I got from it.
Huh? Okay. So just kind of recap, we obviously had an issue back in January, February, where we had a projected, which means if we didn't make any changes, the revenue that the mayor projected was not going to cover all the expenses that were going to come.
Right.
So that's why we raised some of the accrual rates, we raised the wastewater rates, we raised the water rates a little bit. And so when that happened, there's some people who were upset about that, obviously, and I want to know what exactly happened. Did anybody steal money? Did anybody?
You asked that question, if any fraud
was there
showed up.
embezzlement, fraud, theft, or whatever? And so,
But their answer was they didn't even look into fraud.
well, they were being politically. I don't think they want to take shots at anybody. I think they were trying to be neutral as can be. If you read the actual audit report, as soon as I get a copy that I can put out, I'm gonna put out on my Facebook page. I think
I thought the city was supposed to put it up, but it was not up as of 4 o'clock today. We're taping on Wednesday. I looked before we taped about an hour ago, and it wasn't up yet.
Yeah, so BDO they have very strict guidelines about the confidentiality of that report. So if you watched the meeting, Brian, we had to sign a document before. We had to approve the mayor to sign a document to basically release that report to the public and talk about it in an open public meeting. And so my understanding, at some point it's going to be on the city website, but as soon as I get a copy, I'm going to post it on my social media page so people can look at it. But if you read the report, it's very obvious there's no findings of any embezzlement, fraud, theft, anything like that.
Just bad math skills.
And basically what you're saying, there's about three different areas. The one is what you're talking about. Basically, revenue did not climb as fast as expenses were climbing, which means we were spending more money than was coming in through the fund. This is a utility fund, which is an enterprise fund, which means it's supposed to be self-sufficient. So you pay your water bill. This is the services you get, and it's supposed to be very close to matching.
It's supposed to be zeroed out at the end of the year.
Yeah, so we came in office, it was like a $1.8 million surplus in there, and we drained it down to nothing.
So y'all took a $1.8 million surplus and turned it into a $1.9 million deficit.
If we didn't make any changes.
Yeah, it sounded like y'all were running Kamala Harris's presidential campaign.
Well, you can make the argument. The second thing they said was basically that there were some issues with our way we prepared our budget. And I'm not going to point fingers or take anybody's shots at anybody. But, basically the report's very clear. We were projecting revenues we were not meeting. 16, 18, 24% over several years. So that was another thing they mentioned. Third, they talked about the actual 2026 budget, in which we had some DECRUA invoices from previous fiscal years that was not factored into the budget. We had we signed a garbage contract, this is not breaking news. We signed a garbage contract that had a 16% increase each year in 2023. And the executive branch of government never put that increase into the budget. So every year, when I was talking about expenses were going up and revenue was not, we were not charging the customer more for a service that they were charging us. The vendor was charging us more for.
Gotcha.
And then lastly, there was a lot of accounting procedures. There was no tracking of invoices, for example. Like the big thing was about DECRUA. We had some invoices from previous fiscal years. I think the mayor had mentioned that we had a change in public works, and they found 2 invoices sitting on somebody's desk or whatever, which that's ridiculous.
Yeah, bad.
And so there's no tracking
paperwork
of that, things like that. And so accounting practices were not in good shape. And so that's something, I don't know if it really came across in the meeting, but the mayor had.
Well, the budget, this audit actually got overshadowed with the couple things we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and we're
next.
going to talk about the silly witch thing in a minute. I mean, frankly,
Yeah.
that's just silly compared to what we really were talking about at the meeting. But to finish off on the audit, you had those 3 things. You had bad financial practices, or not professional financial practices in place that led to this projected shortfall. We've made that correct. The mayor has vowed to us that he's going to implement a lot of changes as far as the accounting procedures, like basics, reconciling your bank statements every day, reconciling, tracking invoices, things that.
Which should have been being done anyway.
Yes, very sure. Now, I think if you ask the mayor and his team, there was some transition where you had some people coming into office. Because before Chip, the second time came in office, we changed clerks in that period of time. When we took office in 2021, we got a new clerk. We did not have a financial person like we had now with Mr. Ed. We didn't have a deputy clerk like we have now with Alicia, and so we added those positions as the mayor asked us to. And
so that should help clear up some of
that. That should help clear that up. But at the end of the day, Brian, I want to be transparent. There were some mistakes made by the city of Hernando. There's no question about that, and there's no sense to hide about it. I mean, nobody wants to talk about things when they're bad, but this is something that's bad. It should not have happened, and I think we're trying to make the right procedure to get it done to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I just want to reiterate, I've told the mayor this, and I think actually later in the meeting, Alderman Piper mentioned this. There has got to be better communication between the executive branch of government and the Board of Alderman.
Well, that was said by multiple aldermen across the meeting, not just with this particular topic, but throughout the meeting. I know Alderman McClendon did it, Alderman Piper did it, about communicating better and basically not getting blindsided.
Well, we're going to talk about 3 or 4 more things.
Well, I actually had a question emailed to me.
Oh, big question.
Well, we had two questions, but one pertaining to this that was sent to me while the meeting was going on, and you actually ended up bringing it up. But the question was, if the utility fund is this messed up, what's going on in the general fund, and are we considering an audit there? That was texted to me during this part of the meeting, and during this part of the meeting, you actually asked that question to BDO.
Yes, I did. I asked the gentleman's name is Wes Wilburn, who's the, I think he said he was a principal partner at BDO. BDO is a huge national firm, but they have an office right there just before you get to Jackson. He's actually David Cox's nephew, the minister at the United Methodist Church. I didn't know that till last night, but he's related to David Cox. And so, and he basically said is, hey, look, I think it may not be a bad idea, but let's wait and see what the Gerald group, who's our auditing group we already do, is going to look at. We should get that result, I think, by the end of this fiscal year, sometime between September and October. We should get the audit from there, and then we'll make that decision. But I think it's safe to say we're going to find some of the same issues that we found here.
Well, and Alderman Kitchens made a motion and a statement. We made a statement and a motion to make a new committee to oversee these funds.
Hey, we love a committee.
And it was seconded by Ben. But after that, Alderman Miller chimed in and said, hold on. I know nothing about this. We can't just be willy-nilly starting, committees and nobody knows about it. He basically called that a blind side during the meeting, that he didn't know about it. And then Alderman Robinson chimed in and said he didn't know anything about this proposed committee.
And frankly, I didn't know anything about it. I was put on the committee.
Yeah. Then that was tabled because of that to the next meeting.
And Alderman Kitchens did call me today, and he kind of gave me, and I've kind of filled me in a little more information about what he wants to do. And I think what he wants to do is not a bad idea. Obviously the majority of the board has to approve that, but I think it's something that we can really seriously discuss.
Yeah. Well, that was put on hold till the next meeting, so y'all can get more information and have a better discussion about the committee. And then we get into the next part of the meeting, and that was, that takes care of the arithmetic part of our broadcast. The next part of the meeting was the Witches of Hernando parade. And man, this thing blew up over a matter of a couple days on social media. You had news crews there for the meeting. I mean, and really, the news crew should have been there for the audit, and not about Witches parade
and that's
near Halloween.
That's going to be my point, Brian, is that we had a Board of Alderman meeting with really 2 or 3 very important topics that are really going to affect people in the city of Hernando. And we had a room full of people talking about witches in a parade.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, that's what they were there for.
Well, look.
And I don't want to downplay, to me, I think it's silly, but I understand why somebody could possibly think that it's something more than that. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody or anything. But, man, I think there's a lot more important things going on than whether or not we have a fundraising parade.
Well, my thing was, it really wasn't anything that the board should have been involved in, because that's the whole religion and state thing.
Sure.
I mean, and it got a little uncomfortable how much talk between the board and the people there speaking for and against it got into religious talk, which the board's not there for. The only thing on this agenda that should have been being discussed by the board was whether or not to shut a street down for the parade. Whether or not they call it witches or whatever, it doesn't matter if they call it witches or, I mean, if you participate in Halloween, you don't really have an argument against it. In my opinion, I respect your opinion, but you can't, the two things are not, how many people dress up as a witch for Halloween? Hundreds and thousands.
I bet you were a little witch when you were growing up.
Yeah, it probably was. That probably was. But
so let's explain there's a group of, and my understanding is there's a national, I don't know what you call it, not foundation, but a national group that does. They call them witches' rides, and it's a fundraising area, kind of like think about a Halloween Mardi Gras parade. I think what this is going to be.
Well, what's funny is before the meeting yesterday, I put into AI, tell me about witch parades, and the very first one that popped up was Hernando, Mississippi.
Because
I guess because we're discussing it was being talked about on social media. Because they listed Ocean Springs was the other one in Mississippi. They had one in Salem, Massachusetts. Obviously, that's where witchcraft, I guess, started.
So it's just think about a kind of Halloween themed kind of Mardi Gras parade, and I think the idea is that you charge people to walk or participate in your parade, and that's a fundraiser for your choice. I think the organization that's doing this, the Witches of Hernando, is what they're called.
Good witches.
And I think what I've seen is good witches do good or something like that. Anyway, and so they essentially will do a fundraiser, and then I think the money's going to go back to children. School programs, sports programs, whatever they choose. They've got a nonprofit formed with I know that was something that was in question. I think they actually formed that. Tuesday before the meeting, but they do have LLC nonprofit. I think it's incorporation, but anyway.
Well, and I mean, the good witch, bad witch topic made me really go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I think for this parade on October 10th, now I think the Board of Aldermen and the mayor should participate in it, and all of y'all should dress up. All the aldermen should dress up as the lollipop kids from the Wizard of Oz, the good witch, bad witch theme, and Mayor Chip should dress up as the great and powerful Oz for the parade.
Well, we had it was a pretty divided crowd. I think there was a lot of people, really, be honest with you, more than I thought, who were opposed to something like this.
And I understand the opposition to it, but I also understand the other side. And like I said to you off air before the meeting, because this thing took on a life of its own.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can see fault in both sides of it, and I can see the sides of both sides. If you're doing a fundraiser that you're trying to raise as much money as possible, and you're getting this much pushback from the community over the name, right or wrong, why not change the name and get more inclusiveness where more people participate and you raise more money?
Well,
so I can see both aspects of it.
Well, I think the reason they're sticking with that name is I think that's I don't know what that parent company, that's kind of the main theme of it. From what I understand, Ocean Springs has something very similar, and it's a huge
and it's all
operation.
tied in with Mardi Gras and things like that, I think.
And so I think this is a side effect of being transparent, Brian. So I post the agenda on my social media page when I get it on Friday. I think some people saw that and saw that one of the items were, as it reads on the agenda, Witches of Hernando, to have to hold a parade. And I think some people took that out of context, and I know possibly one person was kind of making a joke about something, about, hey, why is Hernando having a witch parade? And that was taken out of context, and that blew up into, we're going to protest this. This is ridiculous. This is something.
How do actual witches feel? Like a real witch.
I'll be honest, Brian. I think in my entire life, I've never actually met a real witch.
I actually have. I had a client that claimed to be a witch.
I thought you were about to say somebody else.
No. She would never know. You would never know that she considered herself a witch, and been a great client. I've sold her 2 or 3 houses over the years, but she practices a form of witchcraft. I don't know. I never asked her about it, but nice lady. But I did think about that. I was like, man, real witches may be offended by the Witches of Hernando not being real witches. So
it's a Halloween themed thing, and like I said at the board meeting, Brian, I think it's a good thing that people are passionate and they get it. They're involved. They want to know what's going on in their city. That is a good thing. So I think any kind of healthy debate about something like this, and if people want to be upset about it, that's great. That means they care about the city of Hernando. Well, that's great.
I do think it's bad that we're on local news in Memphis over this, though. I mean, that was what they covered on the news last
and you can't.
night.
But the guy from Fox 13 called me and asked me, what, because he saw my social media post, and he was like, what do y'all? I said, man, this is something that is a big to do about nothing, in my opinion. But some people are passionate about it, and I think that's a good thing. they might not agree with what the Board of Alderman did because
it was voted unanimously to pass it.
But I still think it's a great thing that people care and want to make sure our community is represented a certain way. That's great for the city of Hernando.
Yeah. Well, and then once that passed, everybody kind of got up and left the room.
Everybody got up and left.
Yeah. Did something happen in the hallway? Because I was watching obviously on YouTube, and the mayor asked the police chief to go out because apparently there must have been some talking outside the room.
So the way we sit, I'm on Ward 4, so we kind of sit in order. I could see out the door there, and it looked like the guy. There's a couple people who were opposed to this. And of course they made some comments walking out that we're all going to get thrown out of office and we're all going to hell or whatever. And when he walked out in the parking lot, I think there was some confrontation out there, and I think the police went out there and made sure nobody lost their temper or anything. But no arrests or anything like that. So.
Gotcha. Well, and then after that, and you were talking about the crowd, the next thing on the agenda was that was of importance was the weed store, Dab's dispensary.
Do you invest in that?
No, I do not. But
you behind the real estate guy?
But the attorney for them cracked a joke when he got up. He goes, "Man, I showed up and I thought all these people were here to protest me. I'm glad they all left. I thought they were all here to protest the dispensary."
Well, it was funny. Before the meeting, I was walking in, and of course, it was starting to get filled up, and I saw the auditor guy from BDO West, and he's like, "Man, what's going on with all this? These are all here for me?" I was like, "Yeah, man, you're bad. People are mad about this audit." So he thought I was serious for a minute. He thought he was going to have some hostile crowd, but it did turn out not to be that. But you're right. We had a so if people are familiar, Brian, you probably know the building right there. You can see from the interstate when you get off at Nesbit. For a long time, it was a taxidermy place, and I think Mid-Right Plumbing. So there's a gentleman who owns the Dabs, which is at Oak Grove and 51 there, the dispensary. I think.
No, they are at Holly Springs and McInville.
No, Holly
Springs.
Okay, I was mistaken on that. And he was trying to open a second location. Our listeners may not know. I think South Haven. In the Horn Lake
don't allow them.
They do not allow.
We apparently don't either, though. Yes,
we do. We have. You just said there was some in town.
Well, I understand, but go ahead and finish your statement.
Witches, yes. Cannabis, no.
No. Weed bad, witch is good. So weed bad, witch is good.
So anyway, he was trying that piece of property is zone C4. So if our listeners are familiar with like a PUD, which is a plan used in development, a C4 is kind of like the commercial version of that. So you can put whatever you in there as long as you can add and take away uses. And so this guy was trying to add a medical dispensary usage into that C4 plan that was approved. I think, and the guy said like 1998 or something.
And my point was that we ought to just go ahead and say we're putting a moratorium on dispensaries, vape stores, and liquor stores, because where he was trying to put that, you explained it, it's where it's located, it's kind of isolated there by itself off motor scooter. There's, concrete plants and things back there, but then there's a liquor store there. There's a couple gas stations that sell alcohol. If that doesn't fit with that environment.
And I agree with that part of it, but here's where I think that I had to ask you, my personal issue is, when you get off of the interstate in Nesbit, what's the first thing you're going to see?
You won't see that because you don't see it when you get off.
No, you can see the Mid-Right Plumbing store.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. It fits with what
that shouldn't be. I don't think that makes sense. And I think we disagree, which is good. I'm glad we had a little debate here, but I don't think that's the first thing you should see getting off the interstate is a marijuana dispensary for the city of Hernando. I don't think that represents what our city of Hernando is about.
And I agree with that. But my point is, don't say we allow them if we're not going to approve.
Well, we have some, and let me tell you this.
Because you couldn't stop them at that point. We talked about that on an earlier episode.
Well, we had a different board back then, but somebody involved with that project contacted me today, okay? And and you may know there's some property north of there on Christopher Lane that's already approved for
dispensary.
Yeah, I think one time they were going to do a processing area there.
Oh, okay. I know where that was. Okay.
And so I think they're going to maybe look at that property.
Okay. So there you go, Chad, breaking some news for you here.
Hey, I'm the man on the minute, baby.
Well, and that was unanimously voted against.
We had a roll. Look, we had a roll. I felt good. I felt empowered last. So everything I voted for across the board. I didn't miss a vote. Didn't lose one time.
Then we got in after we got through the weed, the witches, and the arithmetic. We got into some change orders, and this got a little bit heated between Alderman Piper and the mayor at one point, but there was two separate change orders on there for $45,000 and $75,000 roughly.
Actually, 3 change orders.
Well, the third one wasn't any money.
Yeah.
The third one was just letting them extend their date, right, of their finishing date. Yeah. So, but the two that there was one for $45,000 had to do with some awnings being put up, some shade awnings. That vote went 4-3. It did pass 4-3 with Natalie made the motion to approve it. Bruce Robinson seconded it, and the vote was 4-3 with Alderman Piper, Alderman McClendon, and Alderman Kitchens voting no to that. And I did ask Alderman Piper, because he voted no on this section, and then the next vote went 5-2. He switched on the next section. I asked him for clarification on that. So when we talk about the next part, I'll get to that. But that was voted to pass 4-3 to do the awnings. The next part was a $75,000.
Let's talk about the awnings. Let's talk about the. Hold on, you in a hurry or something?
No, I just trying to get to everything, man. It was a long meeting.
Hey, that's government at work, baby.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first change order, we call it change order number 4, was basically for some awnings. So if you've ever been, your kids are a little older now. Baseball, they don't have bleachers anymore. You sit with lawn chairs, and this is going to be some type of covering to get the sun off you. And I think the way that Henry Miner, who is
Oxford has them, I've seen them.
Yeah, so Henry, who's an architect, he lives in Hernando. If anybody knows his wife Annalie, she's a teacher at the.
Is she one of the witches?
I think she's pro-witch though. I think she's pro-witch. I think I saw her share something I put out. I think she's pro-witch.
Make sure I don't make it. I just don't want to make any of these witches mad, because the night this was all going on, I know I'm backtracking, but the night this was all going on, the main guy that was on Facebook opposing it all, I was told he worked at Toyota. Now I've been told he no longer works at the local Toyota store. But Monday night, a big fire broke out right by Toyota. I was like, man, y'all quit messing with these witches.
And while you're bringing, he gave us I hate to backtrack, but I think this is important. When he spoke to us, I think he had a prepared statement, but he had mentioned that people were retaliating against him.
He did say that in the meeting.
And that's ridiculous. Everybody has the right to say whatever they want to say as long as it's lawful. And he can be opposed.
Yeah,
that's
he
great.
Said he was getting threats on social media.
And I think he truly believes this is a bad thing for his children and for other children. I understand that his point of view, I
100%.
disagree with him, but nobody should be reaching out to him and talking anything that's derogatory towards him.
You should speak up when you have an issue with something. I applaud that.
Sure.
Anyway,
so getting back to change order 4, that's about the awning deal there. They initially ordered like 6-foot poles, and the manufacturer said, hey, if you really want this to stand up to the weather and things, it needs to be 10-foot or 10-inch poles or whatever. And so that's a change order there. It's not uncommon for a project of this scale to have change orders. I've managed projects. I was involved with both the jail construction projects in DeSoto County. We had change orders way larger than this. Okay,
I got you.
This is certainly within reason.
But you probably have more of a budget to work with.
We have the money to pay for this.
Oh yeah, because we're borrowing it.
No, you don't think DeSoto County borrowed to build that jail?
I understand.
You don't think they're borrowing to build the convention center?
Yeah. Well, by the way, that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah, but anyway, so every government gets bonds to pay for these things. But I'm saying is, this is not uncommon. I know this is a lightning rod for things, but it's something it's within reason, and that's why I voted to support it.
Okay. And then the other one was
Now the other one we can talk about the other. That's a little different.
They went for it. Like I said, Alderman Piper changed his vote, so the next one passed 5-2, and that was basically a $75,000 change order because of time delays. So explain that quickly if you want to.
Yeah. So in the contract, and anybody who's ever done a construction contract, there's a clause in there that speaks to, it basically delays that do not involve the contractor. And so the way it was explained to me is, when they got out there to the project, there was some soil. 2 things. One, the soil out there was a big mound that nobody knew what it was. They started digging it up.
Had pipes in it.
Well, and Brian, you know this. When Hernando was a smaller town, we had lagoons, and that's where everybody's sewer went for a long time. That's a old sewer lagoon. Okay, and so they started digging those pipes up out. They started digging that mound up, and they found basically soil that had an odor to it, septic pipes, all kinds of things. And they're like, we can't build on this. We have to get all this out. So that was a delay getting in there, and that's basically additional work you're adding to.
Right.
Secondly, the type of soil there, you had to bring a lot of soil in to redo that. So that was some days, and so I think 98 days or something like that we ended up paying for.
Well, and Ben, that's what Ben said. That was his reasoning for voting no on the one. He said, I thought we could do without that right now and do it at a later date. This one, he said, I understood is why I voted for this one. So he was the only vote that changed over.
Yeah. And so, in 98 days, they claim it's $749 a day to have that project, is what it costs them to have somebody out there in that project. That's again within reason. Like I asked Steve Pittman, our attorney, hey, if we say we're not going to pay this, what happens? And he said basically they'll we're in breach of the contract and we'll be in litigation for a couple of years.
Well, there was a little bit. This is where the little bit of heatedness came in with.
And so I think the Board of Alderman, as I mentioned earlier with the forensic audit, is getting frustrated because we feel like we're not being communicated with on things that's happening with the city of Hernando.
Yeah, because Alderman Piper and the mayor kind of had a back and forth over transparency was the word.
That'd be a pretty good little boxing match. Who you taking that?
I'm taking the under on both of them. I think
Chip's in the Navy, so he probably knows how to fight dirty.
Okay, I'll take Chip because I'm a Navy guy now. My son's in the Navy. I'm gonna go with the Navy guy.
But Ben's from Georgia. You got to watch those Georgia folks.
Well, but that was a little bit of heated back and forth, and then Alderman Kitchens and Alderman Clendon both kind of backed up Ben's statement on this. You and Natalie and Bruce kind of stayed quiet, but there was a little bit of back and forth on that.
I agree that there's been some. And Chip, I think Chip was saying, "Hey, look, I'm the mayor. I'm elected to make decisions on a daily basis. I think his comment was, I make 100 decisions a day.
Right.
But I think our decision. I think Ben's, and I don't want to speak for Ben. He's too good at the podcast with him more. So we had to replace him. We threw him out.
Right.
But anyway, I think Ben was saying, "Hey, look, when we have a major issue, because that's the first thing you do in the project is get the soil ready. So we knew we had an issue when we started breaking ground in 2025. Let us know.
Nobody knew about it.
We could go back and borrow some additional money if we need to, or we could move some money into the budget.
We're good at borrowing money.
Huh?
We're good at borrowing money. So
anyway, so I think that's that is what Ben. I think Ben was saying there's some frustration there, and also I think there's some frustration just with me is that. And you probably played baseball at those baseball fields and I umpired out there. We want something good for our community. We want a good project. And, we try to do it with the, whatever it was, coins for kids or pennies for the parks or whatever.
That was voted down,
and we were not successful. So we said, hey, we're going to try to piecemeal this one piece at a time. And so that's what we're trying to do.
That's what I hear from people that are against it.
Sure.
Hey, pennies for parks didn't pass. They borrowed the money anyway, and now look at all these overages we have.
And I'm glad you brought that up. So we bid this project out, and we selected Nicholson Construction. They were $1 million under the closest bid. All right. So if we didn't take their bid and went to the next person, my Hernando math says we would pay $1 million more, right?
Right.
And say everything went perfect, no change.
But we already know y'all can't do math at the city. We talked about that earlier.
When you say, hey, I'm just in the legislative branch.
But we talked about that. Y'all can't do basic accounting, so.
Anyway, what I'm saying is, so we've paid, I think the mayor mentioned we're about $200,000 over what we initially budgeted with change orders and things. So we're still in the good for about $800,000 under the next bid. So some people may not agree with that, but that's just a fact. And we're too far along. We're like 80% complete in that project probably. And we're going to talk about the next
at this
item.
point, you got to get it finished.
Yeah, so and that's why I voted for both. Let's get the thing done and move on and have a good place for our kids to play baseball or softball.
Well, and then that took up the majority of the meeting, and then y'all approved some plat stuff, and the only thing, because nothing was controversial there, they all kind of flew through.
Well,
but it was funny. Ben Piper made the motion on every one of those, and I have never seen. He may not be able to do math,
he can talk
but
fast,
he can read really fast because he read through those motions and got a second, and everybody approved them faster than anything I've ever seen at the board.
And we kind of glazed over, but just so people understand, the Renaissance Park baseball project, and there's also an amphitheater included in there, and some disc golf and some other things, is going to be completed on October 6th.
It will not be done.
If
You heard it here first. It will not be done.
And I agree with you, but if it's not done on October 6th,
Y'all start recouping money.
we get liquidated damages of $1,000 a day.
And you're probably going to get a lot of that back.
So some of that what we just spent out, we'll get back.
I rode out there about a week and a half ago, just was going by there. And I was like, let me pull through here and kind of see what's going on. And you can't see a lot because they've got it blocked off. But from what I could see, you're not anywhere. You might be ready by February or March.
We'll be ready by spring baseball. But it's and obviously they could get some rain day if we have rain that's more than the 5-year average or whatever. But we'll probably get some of that money back. So I think that's important.
Well, and then the last thing was budget talks, and y'all kind of tabled that till a special meeting this coming Wednesday because we've only got we got less than a month.
Ben kept calling it a workshop. It's a workshop.
Workshop next Wednesday, and I think you should stay a little longer. I'm gonna bring in the accounting teacher from Hernando High School, and we're gonna give you an accounting class during that. But
I don't think there's any problem with accounting. It's just what do you want to spend? I think that's the problem.
Yeah, we want to spend. Man, y'all. I don't get myself in trouble. So it sounds like my house. We ain't got this money.
Well, I mean, so our budget combined with everything, our bond payments and general fund, utility fund, other things, we're talking about a $41-42 million budget. So we're not talking about chump change.
Yeah.
And we just got to, I think the budget is the most important thing that the Board of Alderman does. We have the ability to basically approve a budget.
Boring work, but has to be done.
Yeah, and it kind of outlines what our priorities are for, like when I ran for office, my priorities were potholes and parks. And so if you noticed, we've paved a lot of potholes.
Do you want to get me down a pothole?
And we building a park, so I think I'm doing pretty good with that.
If that's what you ran on was potholes, I've got to find somebody to run against you.
Now hold on, you're not in Ward 4, so you live in Ward 6. You got to talk to Mr. Piper about your potholes. So anyway, but
now the one thing that was said on the budget talks, because we need to wrap this up, is there was a 3% raise across the board with a couple special ones. But y'all didn't get into that really. That's going to come up at the next special meeting. But Alderman McClendon did chime in and say she didn't want to raise. Then Alderman Miller followed in with her, and I think several of y'all said, "Hey, we don't want to raise. Let's use that money elsewhere." And then y'all kind of tabled the meeting. Y'all didn't close the meeting down because we're extending it. We recessed till next Wednesday. And Alderman Miller did chime in as that was being done and said, "Hey, if you got something you want on there, don't show up with it Wednesday. Send it to us ahead of time so we're not being blindsided by it." And that was kind of how the meeting ended. 3-hour marathon. I thought I needed to put it. If Dabs would have delivered, I would have needed a Dabs dispensary.
You texted me one time. I was like, "Hey man, send me some pizzas, man."
Yeah, I mean, I needed Dabs to deliver me some.
I would have thrown you a shout out if you sent me some pizza.
Yeah, well, I was scared, that with the weed store being there, that I wouldn't have ordered enough pizza for everybody. Because they would get in the munchies, maybe.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we have our work to do. We still have we're still, I think, very far away from having a balanced, approved budget. So we'll have a meeting on the next Wednesday. I think 3:30 is what we said, and then,
so we may, depending on what transpires there, we may have a special podcast.
Well,
for it.
I mean, just from talking to some of the other board members, I think we're pretty far off from having consensus on the budget. So.
Okay, so we'll get into that.
That's some breaking news, but I think we're going to really work at it and try to go from there. So
all right, well, I appreciate the time today, and hopefully we summed that up for y'all. The 3-hour meeting in about 40 minutes, our longest podcast. But we'll be back here for the next one on Roundabout Roundup.
Yeah, I'm Chad Wicker.
I'm Brian Couch.
Subscribe and listen. Growing podcast.
Have a good one.